Alright, so we'll get started. I believe we'll pretty much finish out Plagal of Fourth, the Aposticha, and then I'll give out the first mode, slow stuff. We'll see. I'd rather go through some of this than go through more of the Lenten Perkimenon, but we'll see how things go. I don't know if you guys have an opinion. I haven't gone through some of the Lenten Perkimenon, if it was more helpful to keep going through the slow stuff rather than the ultra slow Lenten Perkimenon.
They both have a purpose.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start going through the Aposticha, but first let's get our levels. So we'll just sing the scale of Nipavu. So Nipavu Gavi Kezani Nizokedi Kamu Pani. Cool. Alright, do you have it, John?
I'm not sure which one we're doing.
We're doing slow Plagal 4.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're in the before that.
Yeah, except go over the second one because I'm going to do the first
We're
one
doing
last
this
week.
Aposticha number 2.
Yep, Aposticha number 2.
389.
Slow Aposticha number 2.
Alright, so the Lord is King. Or let's just sing through the first one, just to, since we did that already.
Sing through the verse?
Sing through the first one and then we'll go to the verse.
Okay.
We'll just sing the words, sing the words.
Like we've done it already. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, but
It's been, well, the only thing is that we have a scale change on the second page
Right.
on Fallen. And then we also have the scale change on the second line, the Alchemist.
right.
So, yep. Zygos scale, first one, and then the hard chromatic scale, the second one. So, Neagie, thou didst ascend the cross, O Jesus, who didst descend from heaven, thou camest unto death, O immortal life. Thou camest unto those in darkness, O thou who art the true light. Thou camest unto the fallen, O and our Savior, glory be to thee. All right. Any questions there? That was slow, just to let you know. That was pretty slow.
Okay.
Just to get us back into the
One of these chromatics was a Zygos and the other was...
the first one. The first one is Zygos.
And the other is actually deep chromatic.
Yeah, the hard chromatic.
So, or deep or hard. Right?
Yeah, deep, hard, intense. So.
And so they're slightly different.
Yeah, the
The
Gavu
vu. You said the
Pani
vu.
Pavu.
And this, the Vu and the Zygos is a little...
So,
trying to figure it
Zygos is Vigavu Pani Pavugadi. Hard chromatic is Vigavu Pani
So the Vu is the deciding,
Pavugadi.
right?
Yeah, it's the, yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
So in the Zegos, for the Zegos, the Vu stays the same as diatonic. The Vu is in the same place.
Okay, and then
And then, but in the hard chromatic, that Vu changes.
Vu.
Yep.
Vu.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So. All right. Verse number 2. Nay. We get the same note for a little while.
Yes, I love it.
The Lord is King, He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, and He hath girded Himself. Does that make sense to everybody there? And everyone knows the Eson with the oligon underneath it, what that means, right?
No.
Like, the Lord is King, He is clothed with majesty, what that...
Oh, yeah. Oh, that, yeah.
Emphasis.
So it's just like a...
Emphasis.
Yeah, just a slight... It's not an amazing emphasis, but it's just like a slight emphasis. Okay, Aposticha number 2. Look at it for a minute. Tell me if there's any immediate burning questions.
Let's see, that's the
Change.
Mm-hmm.
We see soul, scale change.
Yep, soul. Scale change.
Scale change.
And Jeff, I think you were about to say what scale it changes into.
that's the soft chromatic, right?
Yeah, soft chromatic scale on soul. And then we change back on the E of body.
What is the D with a 0 or the arrow going down? What is it going down? It might be an Eson, but I can't
Where's
figure
that?
out what they're doing. Descended.
Oh yeah, that's the take the going down instead of up.
It's a low.
Oh yes, low D. Now what does that tell you?
Descended.
That tells you probably that the melody is going to go down to low D.
Okay.
And it does.
So, okay.
And that'll
Well,
give us a talking point in a second.
Anyways, I don't know what else. The rest looks okay.
Yeah. The rest are just generic formulas that we've sung before.
So when you descend into Hades, you end up on low V,
Yep.
and then you go up to Ni. V. No, okay, V. That's
You go
right.
down to low D,
Low V.
and then, so you went on low D. Is that your question, or?
No, I was sorry, I was a fifth off. Never mind.
Yeah.
Forget I asked.
Okay. It has been forgotten.
Huh?
Oh, really?
Was there a question?
There was a question?
I don't know. The one thing of note, I think, is so far we've seen martyria that are like this. Okay, we have the note, the name of the note on the top, and then we have a little symbol underneath, the 2 dots meaning like up 4 notes or the plagal, and then this guy meaning the scale that we're in, or the environment around that note type of thing. But if you look on Hades, I think what is that, the, whatever line that is,
Fifth
1,
line,
2, 3,
number
4,
fifth.
5. Yeah, or is it 6, yeah, whichever line it is, right at the end of Hades. Instead, we have it reversed, if you notice. It goes, and then the D is on the bottom. Everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that means that it's the V down the octave from the other V. So if they switch places, the note name with its corresponding scale marker, then that means that we're down the octave. If we're in the regular position, it means regular D, and then as we saw before, if it would have been V with an apostrophe, then that means up the octave. So now we have 2 octaves worth of these to deal with. So hopefully you don't have to sing them in one piece. Sometimes that occurs, which is a vocal exercise. Does that make sense? So just a little thing to notice how things are written. Okay. Let us glorify Christ. Yeah, exactly. So that's our D. So you just want to make sure that that's there. And we're probably going to go down, so we have to make sure that that's okay. So that's our D. And I don't know how high high we go, but hopefully that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
On the node names. Voga ga di di ga vo vo ga di di ga vo pa voga voga di ga voga di di ke di ga voga di ke di ga voga di subchromatic di ke di ga di ke di ke zo ni zo ke zo ni zo ke di ga di ga di ga pa pa ni pa pa ni pa ni Okay, that was kind of long. How'd that go?
Surprisingly better than unexpected.
Yeah, everyone-
I just
it's-
got lost around here, but I got sidetracked.
It sounded fine to me in general. And I think it's partly that like repetitive themes coming back because like at the end, new no
yeah.
corruption, ga vu vu ga pa. It seemed fine. It wasn't a tongue twister at all the way it was the first time we sang it. There was one thing I wanted to say, and I do not remember. Oh, I liked, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line. After the shun of passion, passion, and you all did that. As opposed to sometimes people forget the gorgon and it's shun, which is a different thing. So, okay. I'm fine with singing it with the words if you guys are fine with singing it with the words. Okay. Ne again, let us glorify Christ, who is risen from the dead, partaking of He's above created, one from the other, by his passion, his immaculate soul, he's handed into Hades, which also he despoiled, and the holy body of the Redeemer of our souls, knew no corruption in the grave. Cool. That sounded good to me. The things that I wanted to comment on, descended into Hades. This is one of those things, and we were talking about this before with how to extend the scale, because we know how to go from knee to knee, but how do you go above high knee or below knee, below regular knee? So this we go down to thee, and if you notice we went, Neagia descended into Hades. We treat, okay, well I did that.
Okay.
So we treat Zo the same way that we treat upper Zo, because we're extending it by the 8-note section, the octachordal section, as opposed to a different section. So, Zo ni zo ke ke di. So we keep Zo natural and then flat it when we go past it. If that makes sense as to what we talked about before. Is that clear?
So I'm sorry, so you flattened it going down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Descended into Hades. So we got a Zo flat.
What you do with the octave above, the same thing. You
Yep.
flatten Zo.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just doing the same thing.
And that's just because of the way that we're extending the scale. And Patricia, we were just talking about, you can either extend the scale based on 8 notes, like just take that and put it up, like take knee and put it up at high knee or low knee, just reproduce it, or you can extend it by 5 notes. And you get the same progression, but you have a different way of extending up and a different way of extending down. And depending upon how you decide to do that, tells you how it's going to be sung. Most of these, and I was telling the guys before that I didn't get a clear answer online. They said, well, you will know in the music which one you were supposed to use. I have no way currently of knowing which one I'm supposed to use, but in general it seems like for Plagal 4 it's the octachordal, that 8-note section. So then high Zo acts like low Zo, and all the other guys in between. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on.
So I'm sorry, Nick. You flattened the Zo on Hades going down?
Yeah. Zo ni zo ke ke di.
But not on into?
I descended into. Yep, didn't flatten it there.
All right.
Descended into. No, because you're gonna natural it again. Yeah, I wouldn't.
All right.
I wouldn't flatten it there.
Okay.
It's almost like we're not in that section yet. We just kind of passed into it and are going to go back up to knee, and then once we really descend to the then it means okay, we're really in that bottom tetrachord, that bottom 4 notes. from V to Ni.
All right, that sounds like something that like isn't amenable to a rule, because like before you said when you kind of bounce and hit it, you don't consider that as having passed it, but here you've actually gone below it to cat.
Yeah, well, but
you still don't flatten it.
But the interesting thing here is that we're not going the same. Before, when we were talking about those rules, we were going towards Zo.
Yeah.
Here we're going the opposite direction towards Zo. So the top rules don't really apply as to how you're going to flatten. And
yeah, but you do flatten it the second time you go past it.
Different rules.
Okay.
I don't know if there are rules. I'm not sure. It's
something to me like a post hoc rationalization.
Descended into hate.
This is what I did. So I'm going to devise a rule that covers it. Explain why the rule doesn't apply.
Yeah, I'll just say follow what I do for the moment.
Well, that's kind of what I thought it was, but...
Well, someone online emailed me, I think maybe it was a year ago, and they said, please explain to me all the rules for flattening Zo, for sharpening Ga, for sharpening Ke, for doing this. And I was like, what? I was like, you kind of just do it when it feels appropriate. And then I had to start thinking, like, are there really rules? Are there not rules? And there are certain guidelines, we'll say.
Or you would
suggestions.
Yeah, but then I think it's
a pirate code.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enchanter's code.
So I'm not.
Guidelines and actual rules.
So I'm not really sure if there are rules, but it seems like there are general times when it is done. But yeah, this one descended.
I just want to make sure that's what I actually heard that you did that or didn't do that. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I did.
If I heard that, what was the reason? Now I know that, yes, I heard it, and there's not really a reason.
Yeah. It's just what I did.
It's just what you did.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And then we were talking before, let's say, same thing, which also he descended, or which also he despoiled. Which also he did. So we were saying, vu ga ga vu. I heard a recording, I was listening to a guy in Greek, he was doing the paralagi for all these things, the note names. And he did vu ga ga vu, and I was like, oh. So he is treating, at least when he's singing it paralagi, he's treating. If you notice, there's a dot on that first one.
He's doing it.
He's treating that dot. So he's not just ignoring it as we have been doing. I think I've heard other things. When you're singing it, you don't go, you don't do it like that. But I guess for reading the note names, he's being very specific to the music, and he's treating everything. I don't think he's reading into the music at all. The one guy I was listening to, so he was treating that as a syncopated rhythm. 1/3 on the first beat and 2/3 on the second. So vu ga ga vu. So just to clarify something that I heard recently. So. I won't explain why I was listening to paralagi in my free time, but
No, I didn't even know they did paralagi.
Oh yeah.
Really?
There's entire CDs all paralagi. They have the entire Anastasia Matarian on paralagi.
They do?
Yeah. I have a free one.
Tapes, old-fashioned tapes for those.
Yeah.
And they never had paralagi.
I have
Where
a
did
free.
you find them?
I have a free one. Forums.
Is that forums?
Forums online. Just places online where people discuss various topics.
Oh, and then you.
One of them was in Greek, and it said, here's paralagi by, I forget the guy's name now. If you want them, I can send them out, or send you a link to the files that I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
The recordings. It would be nice to just.
The recordings aren't wonderful. They're fine. There's newer ones which are done by one of the chanters in Greece, and I don't have his. It's a 3D CD set, which is supposed to be really very nice. But I'd have to talk to someone and get them to order them for me, because I don't know how to order something from Greece. So.
I don't know if it makes any sense these days.
Yeah.
If you go to the bookstores, if I go to Greece next week,
but yeah.
but if you go to Aposticha, they're closed. It's the trouble, they're closed.
But the chanter was the teacher of one of my friends in Pittsburgh, and so I can talk to him, get him to get some stuff.
Get it. Yeah. They'll get it.
So if people want anything like that, Sometimes I just.
And it's the standard black book.
The Zoe.
Okay.
The standard. Ioannis Protopsaltis, Anastasia Matarian, which is also free online if anyone wants that too. Just let me know. So.
If you have the sites to get into, that'd be useful.
Oh yeah. Okay, so any questions on that one?
Just one question that has nothing to do with how it goes. I see this little, I call it a R with a dot next to it, but I call it an aptly next to a gorgon. What is that?
that's what we were just mentioning.
Part
and
of it, you were using terms I didn't understand.
Yeah, so this, it actually has a certain name, which I didn't know it had a name, and now I do. So I'm learning too. This guy. So, and then, so we have this guy, that guy, we have this guy, okay? And what they mean, that this thing I believe is called a pedistigmeni. Many. So it's, I'll have to look as to how that's pronounced in Greek. But so it's not an upli, but it's just a dot. So in English I would just say, oh, we have a dot next to our gogon.
Okay.
But that's the actual name, I believe, because it's a specific thing. And so what these are, this one, means half and plus half, right? This means 1/3 plus 2/3. This one means 1/4 plus 3/4. Okay? And the way that I kind of thought about this is the dot, like let's say it was naphtali, wherever you put a dot, it lengthens something, and so it means that this side is going to be longer than this side because it's on the right. So then this side is then double what this side was. This side has 2 dots, so it's going to be triple what this side is. Kind of the same way we deal with the dots. This compared to this is now doubled, this is now tripled, that type of thing. Just, it might not be theoretically correct, but it at least helps me kind of remember.
Yeah.
So if the dots are on the other side of the R, of the gorgon, then it would be reversed.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, have they ever done that way? I've never
Yep.
seen it. Really?
Because I've got a little chart here with the dot is on the
Wow.
left-hand side.
Yep.
So, but no
Yeah.
explanation, so.
Yeah, so then this becomes 2/3, 1/3, 3/4, 1/4. Yep,
Okay.
they do that. It's kind of, to separate these two is a little hard. 1 dun dun, or dun dun dun. It's a fine difference, which it take a lot of very specific practicing, and maybe on a really slow hymn you can really differentiate between. But to do 3/4, 1/4 versus 2/3, 1/3 is kind of tough.
Have we seen that yet? We don't use that
This one?
very often. No, on the left-hand side when
We haven't seen it yet.
it's not very often done. is it?
It's done. I can't say it's very often. In the generic music, the general music that we'll be reading, it's not done very often. But that doesn't mean that there's other literature that,
Well, I'm sure.
yeah, especially the more complicated music, then they start to have fun. More fun than we're having.
We can
So-
only hope to attain such heights of
Yeah.
just frivolity.
I know I have a warning, bandwidth is low. Now we have no bandwidth. Huh. That's interesting. I wonder if we're having trouble with the router. I don't know. If we get canceled.
Or is father
I know, we're
around
back.
here? Is he doing something on the?
We're back all the way up at 4. Okay, now we're fine. I don't
His
know.
computer's downloading updates.
Yeah. There's
Oh.
updates always.
Yeah, Microsoft is due for some updates.
So, any other questions on these? Okay. Let's move on to the next one. We can sing it faster if people want to. Otherwise, I'm fine with moving on.
What would you prefer to sing in the church, for example?
So in the church,
We should probably aim for that.
Yeah, because if you're at the stand and all of a sudden he's zooming ahead.
Yeah,
it's
so
like-
the Lord is King, he is clothed with majesty, the Lord is clothed with strength, and he hath girded himself. Let us glorify Christ, who is risen from the dead, for taking upon himself soul and by his passion, his immaculate soul descended into Hades, which all, wait, so, these which also he despoiled, and the holy body of the Redeemer of our souls knew no corruption in the grave.
Wait, see that coming? Like, you're home free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The bell laugh, the last laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be a little fast, but I think that's kind of like that's a good speed. It's kind of, you can do it slower. I wouldn't do it any fast. I wouldn't do it any faster than that, unless Father David or whoever, whatever Father's looking at his watch, being like,
If you're going to go any faster, then you must do the brief one.
yeah, might as well, yeah.
With it.
But that's a good point, because a lot of times I've heard in various churches, not necessarily Byzantine, but it's like if you're going to, I was at a vigil recently in Philadelphia, and they did the vigil, but they were on the time limit, and oh man, they rushed through so many things. They were cutting out things. They were like, oh, we don't have this hymn, therefore we're going to skip it. And it was like, if you're going to do the vigil, do the vigil. You know, if you're on a time limit and you really want to rush through it, then where's the sense? Where's the majesty? So if you're going to do, if you're on a time crunch, do the brief. You know, if you want to do the slow stuff, give it its time. So, and I think you could do let us glorify Christ. A little slower. Depends on what type of church, how the acoustics are, and how many people you have singing with you. So, and then sometimes that's slower. That gives you the opportunity to not mess up on Hades, and which also, as I did. Hades, which also, which also. So, which is sometimes a hard interval to get. So, verse number 3, Aposticha number 3. Any desire to just try and read it without doing the paralegi, or go straight to paralegi?
The whole Aposticha?
Just number 3.
What happens, all right, well, let's see. There's a scale change right on the second line.
Yeah.
The hard chromatic.
Yep, hard chromatic. That note becomes the, which conveniently is still the in the diatonic scale. Any thoughts?
Yeah, okay.
Read it with the words, or?
Yeah, you can do something else.
And then we still have a Aposticha number 4 that we can do with the paralegi.
And that sign over tyranny, that's just a...
Oh, wait.
That sharpens it?
No, it flattens it. Flattens it.
Flatten it. It's
Now,
going
what note is that?
Let's see if that's...
It's going from Ga? No, Pa. No. The Pa.
Ignore the Isan.
Z.
Ignore the Isan.
Oh, you have to start.
I don't know.
way back.
Yeah.
You have to go way back to figure out where you started.
Yep.
Oh, it's, so.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Me?
Nope. No, you were very close. You said, free us, kekezodi, gaga kevi gavu gavu pa. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
Calf flat.
Yeah, so it's K flat. Tyranny, we're bringing down We're bringing down the establishment, the tyranny. So, whereby thou didst free us from the tyranny of Hades.
Okay.
So it's not a scale change. It almost sounds like it should be.
Yeah, but just that one note, right?
Yeah. And then Dead O Christ, the hard chromatic there. Okay.
Alright.
Let us sing. Let us see how it goes. Neagia, verse number 3. For he established the world which shall not be shaken. With songs and hymns we glorify thy resurrection from the dead, O Christ, whereby thou didst free us from the tyranny of Hades, and as God thou didst bestow life everlasting and great mercy. Great mercy sounded wonderful. Everything else
We've
sounded
got the
good.
pattern now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit.
Everything else sounded fine. I actually messed up myself. And it's gone now.
Yeah, that's
I messed up there too. I was
I-
going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it wasn't just you.
I assumed it was something that it wasn't, and then I was like, nuts. I assumed, and I should not have. So, do you want me to sing what it is? Or
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that. Let's do that again. Yeah.
so,
Please.
Hades, and as God thou didst bestow life. So it goes higher than we expect.
I know.
Yeah,
It goes up to high paw. God thou didst bestow life. And that's again my phantom K sharp, where I decide to use it when I wish. Thee, and you could do bestow life.
I don't know. So when you just do like that, it almost sounds like that sounds natural. Like you don't want to go all the way back down.
Yeah,
Like
it sounds too far when it's a
Yeah.
regular K.
Right.
It sounds too Western to me. I don't know. Like one of my coworkers in math, like you oftentimes when you're doing proofs, you oftentimes miss a bunch of minus signs or twos. So
Yeah.
the teacher at the beginning of the class wrote a bunch of twos and minus signs on the board, and he was like, "This is for when I might need them later." So I should write a bunch of flats and sharps. This is when I might need them later, just because. So that's a phantom K sharp in there. So how is that in terms of reading?
that was pretty straightforward actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second line was ni pavu pavu vigavo pani pani ni, which you all did fine. And the tyranny sounded good. Okay. Go on. Verse number 4. Aposticha number 4. We'll do Aposticha number 4 with the note names again. So look at Aposticha number 4 before we get started.
Going on.
Yeah, lots of stuff. This one gets fun. This is.
So this is Zygos here at Passion.
Yeah, we got Zygos again on Passion. Yeah. By thy passion.
And
Now this gets
Now, what's
exciting.
going on with accepting with the D? Okay, the low D, and the D is
So that
sharp.
we have a
So
little.
what is happening there? It's sort of
So we switch scales, right?
accepting, yeah.
where do we switch?
On
Right there.
accept.
Yeah, there's a little sign there,
Oh,
the
where
hard
is it?
chromatic sign.
Yeah, that hard chromatic sign is there, telling you that that's going to be V in the hard chromatic scale.
Right.
And that we have a little written V there, just as a little helper symbol to remind you. St. Anthony's Monastery decided to put that there to let you know that's going to be the V that we're going to switch to, as opposed to any of the other choices. Because I guess you could switch. What else does it say on that scale chart? That it could be the or.
What do you?
Yeah, can I see it real quick? Yeah, that it could be the or hypa, right there. But it's just a reminder symbol saying this is going to be the. There's a little helper. But if you notice, what changes to the?
What difference does that make? I mean,
It actually doesn't make any difference. I think they're just putting it in there as a helper to remind you. Sometimes they put little extra symbols in there to be like, just a reminder. This is what it does, because it's not always used all that often.
okay.
So, neagia right there, and by accepting burial, and so and by accept, that's ni, right? That's our ni. Pavunini vi ke ga vi ga vu pa pa.
And then go back to that, and then you go to chromatic again.
No,
Atom.
then we go out of chromatic. Oh, an atom, yeah. Then we
No,
go to
you're going out, and then
then
you
we go
go
to
back
soft.
in.
Then we go to soft. Soft chromatic, different
Now,
scale.
how am I to tell the difference between hard and soft?
That sign.
That's it's a different sign.
But what is the?
It's that little thing with
the-
the.
No, I know the sign is. I mean.
So they used to be very similar. They used to be the same scale, and then at some point they got differentiated so that the intervals got pushed in the
Oh.
hard, and they're still soft in the soft chromatic. So, let's say.
So looking at this, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, down at the bottom on the left-hand side.
Oh. Oh, I see now. Yes, you gotta just know it.
Yep. So
Footed lollipops.
accepting burial and arising in glory, thou didst raise up Adam also. It's not all, and it's not all, also. Somewhere in the middle.
What is the note that stays diatonic?
The stays where it is, zo stays where it does, ke. Ke is your floater. It's flatter than diatonic, but it's not as flat as hard chromatic would be. Well, in the original system. In the new system, I'd have to speak differently. But
What does that mean? The new system.
the way it has developed over time. Originally, hard and soft were the same scale. And then, as little by little, they kind of got separated from each other for various reasons, historical reasons, which I don't know. And then, and probably no one might actually know. It just happened.
It happens.
And then, at some point, people were getting confused between hard and soft because they both started on ni. And so what they did was they said, okay, fine, hard chromatic will be starting from pa, soft chromatic will start from ni. And so then, soft chromatic revolves around di, and then hard chromatic revolves around pa. So then you kind of separate them that way by a note. So then when you're singing them, you don't get confused what your intervals are because you're using different note names in general. Do you want me to explain that on the board? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, maybe that would. Yeah.
Okay. And this is where I'm relying upon other people's knowledge and not my own. So, this is something where, scholars research this and try and figure out what happened. So soft chromatic. So okay, diatonic is what? The intervals. 12, 10, 8. 12, 12, 10, 8. Right.
Eight,
Use
10.
that chart.
12,
No.
10, 8.
Put it.
12, 12, 10, 8. Okay. So then what we have instead, soft chromatic. So this is diatonic, and this is again just math theory. Soft chromatic is going to be 8, 14, 8, 12. We got a 12 there.
Mhm.
And then 8, 14, 8. Right? Okay. Now, hard chromatic is 6, 20, 4, 12. 6, 20, 4. Okay? So here's our, and this is hard. So before, I believe, according to Dr. Nick Yanukakis, if I'm not interpreting him incorrectly, and I hope I am not, the original scale was something like 7, 12, 7. And then you either keep going 7, 12, 7, 12, 7, 12, all the way up until infinity. Or you go put another 12 there and then do 7, 12, 7. So little by little, this is very close to this.
Mhm.
It actually doesn't add up mathematically, which is, just ignore that for the moment. And that's why
Very easy.
that's why it ended up different octave systems in 7, 12, 7. You might just keep repeating this, and then it gets kind of weird in terms of a Western mindset. So 7, 12, 7, that's kind of what 8, 14, 8 is to us now. We'll say little by little, this 14 kept getting bigger, became 20, and took a little bit off of this guy and a little bit off of this guy. So it took off 4 and took off 2 of this one, which gives you your 20, your difference of 6. So they both, because they both were from the chromatic scale, they both would start on ni. You know, this is your ni here. So this would be ni going up to the. Ni, pa, hu, ga, di here. So then this one, technically, in the original way, would be ni, pa, hu, ga, di. Right? So same setup. However, because 624 versus 814, 8, people were getting confused. You still have this 12 in the middle, which unifies them, which is why all these are related. So over time, because of the confusion, they said, instead of ni, pa, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, pa, ni, as opposed to ni, pa, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, pa, ni. Slight differences that were hard to interpret and then I can't sing. That, at least down here, I'm better up in this range. So then what they did was they said, okay, fine, we're not going to put it on ni. We'll move it up to pa and make this ke. So now you have pa, vu, ga, di, ke, di, ga, vu, pa. Ni, pa, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, pa, ni. Same, like similar intervals, but now this one is shifted up a whole step, like a whole, just one tone, compared to this one. So the way I was just speaking was as if this was still ni. Because if this were still ni, and this is the, then this is a little flatter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this one, di, ke, di, ke, di, a little bit higher. So, but that's not how it is anymore. So does that clarify?
It's almost coming into focus. I almost feel like I'm just beyond range, but better than I was about a few months ago when you went through this.
Okay. So so that's kind of, it's a historical thing, and hopefully you can see the similarities between all these scales, that we have this intervening thing, 12, 12, 12. We always have this disjunctive note here that separates the two different parts, 624, 814, 8, or 12, 10, 8. And that, one of my friends in Pittsburgh, she was just learning this and she was a music major, and she was like, oh, that's because, that's to give you always a perfect fifth. And I was like, what? And then I thought about it and I was like, I guess that works. Because ni to thee is the same as ni to thee, is the same as ni to thee. You always have the same note. It's just how pa and vu and ga are interrelated and things like that. So that kind of gives you what you would call in acoustics. Everyone loves a perfect fifth. You know, it's a very nice interval.
Yeah.
Right behind an octave. An octave is kind of boring. But the perfect fifth gives you very nice stuff. It's not from the devil. as the Western musicians told us way back in the day.
Yes.
So perfect fifth is good, and all of these conveniently provide you a perfect fifth, as opposed to a tritone, which is from the devil.
That is from the devil.
Yeah. So.
You know, you tell my son that he's going to be so brokenhearted.
Oh, the tritone, or?
You know about the perfect fifth.
Oh, what about it?
Well, because that's what, in metal music,
Oh.
I always look for those chords,
Power chords.
power chords that come from the devil.
Which is a perfect
fifth. Yeah.
And they normally work in parallel fifths, which is the funny part, which is a no-no in Western music nowadays, but was a complete yes in early, like, medieval, not Renaissance, but definitely medieval music. That was actually when I was learning Renaissance, like how to write Renaissance music. My first exercise was to write just an entire thing of parallel fifths, just a melody, and then to harmonize it with parallel fifths.
Is that right?
Which is so weird to do because you're not supposed to do it. But it was just up and down parallel fifths, which is what punk music, rock music just dun, 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 and they just keep it with all parallel fifths. So it's kind of interesting how it's gone backwards.
Yes, he's always looking for ways to buck the system, but
Yeah.
keep coming up with it. We don't in orthodoxy. We have our own system to buck.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. So hopefully that doesn't confuse. I hope it clarifies a little bit. So okay.
Someday it will.
Well, in theory, but when you're singing.
On practice, it's
you
all
just
about
have
ear.
to listen. You just have to listen to somebody who does it.
Yeah, exactly.
I could never
That's good to.
figure this out in the middle of a.
The only
The
advantage.
only way is to hear somebody do it.
Yeah, and that's where, like, when I'm singing music, I'm not thinking, wait, the C goes. That means
Yeah.
we have a 6 and a
No, you'll
yeah.
never get it done.
You never do that. The only way that these numbers come in handy is like when I was trying to write my own system of scales to teach myself like how these intervals work. So of course I went into a mathematical program and started putting in divisions of intervals and acoustical things, and I was kind of like, oh, well then 8 out of 72, because this all adds up to 72. So then I was like, well, if we have a division of 8 out of 72, and then the mathematical program was able to tell me, here's what your scale should sound like, and I was able to play it back and forth to myself, and I could sing with it then. And had I practiced enough with it, maybe I would have the intervals correct now. But so that was where it came in handy for me, and that's where theoreticians go and they kind of try and approximate these things. And I actually kind of was creating a scale thing online, and I got not lazy. Well, maybe I got lazy. I don't know, but I didn't actually finish it to try and help people to kind of figure out what these intervals are. So, but yeah, when you're singing, you listen to someone who knows what they're doing or is approximating what they're trying to do. So, okay, verse number 4, Aposticha number 4. And then we'll be done for the evening, I believe. Holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. We'll sing that with the words, and then we'll do Aposticha number 4 on the note names. Remember, when we switch to hard chromatic in the actual thing, we're going to change the name. It is no longer ni, it becomes di. If that makes any sense. And you'll hear me do it, hopefully. If I don't do it, someone can smack me.
And we won't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got underneath thee, so that's there. Holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. Nigavi vigavuvu, gavi gavi. Gadi ke gadi di ke di gabu gadi ke zoni zo ke di little bit higher. Because we got
How come I can hear?
What is honk on this side? End by accepting. Back to ni And if you notice the second line before the end, we get this soft chromatic and it goes down to pa. I have no idea what those intervals are. There is a software out there where you can kind of plunk in like what you're playing and it'll play it for you, which is kind of nice. But it's the gavu pani, so the and forgiveness of sins. The ga I have no idea. I'm not even gonna approximate it because you don't always sing it down there, and it gets tough. So, and forgiveness. I'll practice that for next time. I have no idea what it would be. So, we'll sing with the words, and we'll kind of fudge through that one thing. Just assume it's somewhat diatonic, at least for the moment. So, until I can sing it, I won't require you all to sing it. So, yes.
This switch is red diatonic.
That one especially is hard.
That
one especially is hard. I don't really. If I were to sing it like closer, I would end up singing it hard chromatic, which I don't know which is better, to sing it diatonic and be wrong, or to sing it hard chromatic and be wrong, because I can't sing it soft chromatic. So
Well, if you talk about death in Hades, hard chromatic is always
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah, they always.
So just know
It's always
that's
good.
how I would. That's how I would. Do it.
Yeah. I'll have to write like a play sometimes and be like in a hard chromatic fashion, you know, like the way to say
Right,
something,
right.
you know, say this soft chromatically. So, but that's verse number 4, Aposticha number 4. Holiness become at thy house. Nay again. Holiness become at thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. O Master of all, incomprehensible, Maker of heaven and earth, by thy passion upon the cross, thou hast become a wellspring of this passion for me, and by accepting burial and arising in glory, thou didst raise up Adam also with thine almighty hand. Glory to thine arising on the third day, whereby thou hast granted unto us life everlasting, and forgiveness of sins, since thou alone art compassionate. Okay.
Gotta breathe.
Any questions there? Okay, the one thing that I figured out while I was singing
No?
that might be helpful. Okay, so, and this will, at least I think it'll help me. So if you notice, the is here. The is in the same place as the. Okay, then we go down 12. We go down 12. Ga is in the same place as Ga.
Mhm.
We go down 8. We go down 8. Wu is in the same place.
Mhm.
Okay, we go down 10. We go down 14. Pa is the one that is weird. And then Pa changes where Ni is. Ni always stays in the same place, but it's where Pa is in relation to Ni that changes this interval. So, Vigavu, 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 Pa Ni, diga vu pani. Little bit lower. So what is it? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Yeah. For diga vu pa vu. So it's that pa.
So
which
it's
is
like
lower.
flattened enough.
Diga vu pa vu ga di. So
So it's flattened from the heart from the diatonic.
yes, it's flattened from what the diatonic would be. And then vu is back in the same place. So if that helps, I diga vu pa vu ga di ke diga diga vu pa vu. Yeah.
That's soft.
Flatter, yeah.
In,
As opposed to
I'm getting my head.
yeah. I can
There,
play it in a
somewhere.
second if that helps. Does that help at all? Knowing that it's the same as diatonic except for pa.
Okay, that's good.
So-
Is that a rule?
It's the theory.
It's good, so it's same.
Yeah.
Because it's the same. So same as diatonic
Oh,
except
flat
for pa.
right.
Yeah, and the
See,
same
that's
thing.
a shortcut.
If you go up here, if you notice, 12 plus 10 is 22, 8 plus 14 is 22. Therefore, zo
Right,
is in the
it's the
same place as zo. These are the same.
Okay.
And then ni is therefore in the same place as well. And then here it's just your k is a whole step up from v. Here your k is not a whole step up. It's what is it, 2/3 of a step?
Something like that.
Yeah. So
Unnatural.
not a half step, but 2/3 of a step.
Unnatural energy.
Yeah. The somewhere in there. So, all right, I'm done.
No,
Is that good?
it gets in focus. You know.
It's getting
Yeah.
closer.
I
You're
hope.
comparing to ground. It's like if it snows after it's like warm for 3 days, the snow goes away.
Yeah.
You know, if it's been cold for a week, the snow sticks. So this
Yeah.
is making the ground cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that was the
The
benefit
blame-
for being sick, is the ground has been cold. So
Yeah.
stuff is sticking tonight
It
for
is.
some reason.
Oh,
All right.